Anybody will won't fight you. May they come, they already know. I'll be right beside you, like the wall of Jericho. They don't know, they don't know, they don't know what's going on. Monagiso, 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 my baby boo. I'll be a soldier for you. I'm getting better in Kung Fu. You should know I got it, and you don't need to guide me too. I'll be right beside you in anything that you do. If you ever need saving, I will be running to you, running, running, running to you. I'll be running to you, running, running, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running. Okay, so that is one of my favorite songs by Chike and Simi. They're from Nigeria. Um, I promise I won't be doing mostly African songs, but I would like to introduce my guest, Christine, who is here to tell you guys about how she was able to use the second part of the Serenity Prayer in her life, and in a very significant way. So, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Well, the second part of the Serenity Prayer is what Christine will be talking about. So, Christine, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, Frankie, for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much for accepting. Um, the first part of the Serenity Prayer is hard for us to do, to accept that things are the way that they are, and turn our focus into what we can do, right? Which is begin to take the steps to make the changes, to keep moving forward, even when we don't want to be intentional about creating those changes, making those changes, building those skills. That's our work. Nobody can do it for us, and nobody can make us do it. It takes you building up the courage to go ahead and put in the changes that you have to be able to improve, right? So tell us how that was for you and how you were able to break through those walls.
Well, at first, it was basically terrifying because I thought a lot of things were going to happen like fast, or I had to do something very, like a big change in my life. And I realized that sometimes it was just doing little things, like really small things. And then as I got the courage to do one thing, I would try another thing, even though I didn't want to. I just kept trying, and the courage just started to come. It started to build with, and not even like positive responses. Just it was more for me to just go out and do it and keep trying. And eventually, it got easier and easier and easier. So, yes.
Okay. Um, so it's like, let's say, for example, crossing the street. If you were afraid of crossing the street, leaving and coming to stand on the side of the street, but not crossing the street, would be an example of trying those small steps,
Yes.
right? Until you're able to cross the street.
Yes.
Okay.
It was I kept thinking about doing it. I kept thinking about crossing, we'll use that example, crossing the street.
Mm-hmm.
And I would come up to those situations and I'd be like, it would be hard to do it. And then at a time I just thought, well, you know what? It's just, all I have to do is try. I just have to try. It doesn't have to be a big result. And then once I tried, it got easier and easier to just start crossing the street. It's such an easy thing. Yeah.
Well, to you now it is.
Yes. Yes.
That's good. Thank you so much for agreeing to share how you were able to break through that walls with those small changes leading up to you completing the big change that you wanted to do. Now, tell me how it felt when you tried the first time.
Oh, I was, you know, I felt a lot of annoyance in life for a while. I found, you know, being around people annoying. So every time I had some things, I would be annoyed immediately. And
Mm-hmm.
then if I just did a small change, I
Mm-hmm.
got the courage to do just a small change, the annoyance would immediately dissipate.
Mm.
And I would feel like relieved. And then, so every time I did that, I was like, wow, this really works. It's just a simple thing. And it's like, it's such a huge response I would get inside of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, just keep using it, it just starts to become a practice. So, but it doesn't have to be, it can be the smallest thing, which is what was so surprising to me, that it could be something just so tiny as, you know, crossing the street, or just actually, it was more about the courage to do it,
Okay.
because it's hard to change patterns.
Absolutely. It is. We get comfortable in how things are, and so we don't want to do the uncomfortable thing, which is begin to do something different, right? Even
Yes.
if it is a small something different, right? So, what was it that those small changes about how being around people was annoying you? What was one thing that you did differently?
Well, we kind of started with it. I would I would run into a situation some mornings walking, and I would I would want to have the courage to just cross the street, and I wanted the other person to cross the street because it was annoying, but I decided to, when I crossed the street myself, I realized that there was I had this power. I had this power to, the minute I crossed the street, I was in control of the situation, instead of feeling that
Absolutely.
other people were controlling all the situations. So
Absolutely.
it was so empowering. And it was so simple. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, we think that the power is in us trying to make someone else do something, when really it's us frustrating ourselves by thinking that we have the power to do something or have someone else do something, right? The only thing that you can do, you don't have the power to make someone else do something. So, what you can do is what you can do, which is what you did, cross the street, right?
Yes.
And that puts the power back in your hands and the control of the situation.
And
Yeah,
that's the change you need in your life.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would want to say to my listeners to have them to feel encouraged? Someone who is about to start their journey, thinking that there are certain things that they cannot do because they're having a hard time mustering up the courage to do it. Do you have anything that you want to tell them? Some encouragement?
I think it's the little things. For me, it's always been the little things. It's just one practice. It may be, when you're feeling bad, you brush your hair, or, you give yourself a hug, or
Okay.
I think some of the simplest things are just to say you're good enough, or I love you to yourself. It's
Absolutely.
it's these tiny things that have such an accumulative effect in your life.
Okay.
They and then they become this, treasure trove of things you can just delve into whenever you're having stress or conflict or you know self-doubt, fear, all the big ones. They're very, very simple, and they're easy for everyone. You just have to find the one that kind of fits for you, and when you do, you just use it.
Okay. Well, if someone out there is beginning to make their changes using this program, please, 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 please don't give up. Little things will add up to big things. Okay? Stay encouraged and look out for the next podcast.